Hey everybody, it's Dave. Before I get started with this episode featuring the wonderful Chris Clem, the whole Waiting for Next Year 10-year anniversary celebration is being sponsored by Lindell Insurance. They are an excellent company that I personally do business with, and I would recommend them quite highly. They've handled everything I want in a timely fashion, and they do a good job. And if you want a quote, talk to Craig at 440-247-3750, and he will get it to you. You can also find him on Twitter at WFNY Craig. You can drop him a little message. And for every quote that you get, he will give you $10. So, hey, why not do it? Get a quote. They have excellent service. And I'm not just saying that because Craig's my friend. He actually does an excellent job for us. And if you've had a bad insurance agent, you know you don't want that. So give him a call at Lindell Insurance.
Waiting for next year. Waiting for next year.
It's the waitingfornextyear.com podcast. My name is Dave Sterling. With me tonight to talk, obviously you know what happened today. It's time to talk 2019 Browns draft. We're skipping this year. I got Chris Clem with me. We're going to focus on the inside linebackers of 2019. If you're looking for 2018, other people on Waiting for Next Year are doing that. We're going next year. We're looking ahead. No, you guys, that was...
It's never too early to scout, Dave.
That, guys, was a joke. We're talking about the Cavs basically changing half of their roster today. And as a casual Cavs fan, I'm going to say I'm pretty happy with it. And I'm going to ask expert Cavs fan, what do you think, Chris, overall?
I'm an expert in terms of just being a fan.
Yes, compared to me, yeah.
I love it. I was last night. I went to sleep and I was hoping when I woke up, because I don't wake up till afternoons a lot of times. I was hoping that I would wake up, get a text that said, "Hey man, did you hear Isaiah Thomas the Lesser was traded?" And I would be happy. I didn't care who it was for. Yeah. I didn't care if they just got rid of him for anything. Instead, I woke up and there was like 85 notifications because the Cavs just shook up everything and got rid of pretty much every person I wanted them to get rid of, and Channing Frye.
Yeah, I agree on the Channing Frye being a disappointment, but it's kind of acceptable losses on this one. When you just think of the bad vibes that are no longer in that locker room, and also the really short guy who was terrible at basketball.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping, maybe they could get rid of Tristan and JR, but I still have a little love for them, even if they're playing terribly this season. But Isaiah Thomas, my least favorite player in the NBA that's not on the Warriors, and he was on the Cavs. Jay Crowder, been terrible. I can't even stand watching him. Iman Shumpert, excellent. I can't even lie and say he's an excellent rapper. He is a rapper and also a basketball player.
He was really good in that Kanye music video. With his wife.
I will say, his wife is.
She did most of it. Yeah.
He did have that song "Build 'Em Like Tetris." I did like that one. You ever heard that?
I have not heard it, but I would hope that he sampled the Tetris theme as the melody to that.
No, and actually the weird thing is the music video is done like a GTA game, so it's really nothing.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen the video. And yeah, why not make it like Tetris? Why not make everybody, I don't know. Yeah.
Basically just shouts, "Build 'em like it's Tetris. Build 'em like it's Tetris."
Do 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 do. That's me. That's why he's the professional, I guess. Yeah. I wasn't, like you said, any member of the championship team, you do a solemn, head nod for them. But I think anybody can agree that Isaiah Thomas being gone is a good thing. Jay Crowder being gone, he never really embraced the team concept. And from a humanitarian standpoint, Derrick Rose being gone is good for everybody.
Well, yeah. We don't even need to.
Yeah, let's not get into him and the moral.
Just Google it.
Yeah.
And even the things with Derrick Rose that weren't actually horrible things that he did are still fishy. Like when he was eating an apple with a knife and got stabbed in his bed. I still don't even know what happened there.
Very similar to William Green, who fell down the stairs on a knife.
I was just going to ask you, who has the more mysterious stab injury? That's why I kind of, even though I hated him because he was on the Celtics, I respected Paul Pierce because he's like, I got jumped outside a club and stabbed 10 times. He didn't concoct some story around it.
Yeah, exactly. Because who eats an apple in bed?
And who's eating it with a knife? Is this like the Waltons?
Well, I've eaten an apple with a knife, like where you cut it up beforehand.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I'll take it to bed, because you don't want to end up with a core in bed. Like, what are you going to do with it? Put it on the end table and then tomorrow morning it's all gross? No. Cut up your apple slices. Yeah. Anyway.
I actually have a slicer that goes over the top of an apple that cuts it into 8 pieces.
How accurate can you get with that? Because I always, I think I'm good, and then I, see a bunch of seeds in the slices, and I get disappointed in myself.
I'm eating a lot of apples. I get pretty good at it, but now where I just have an apple every once in a while, I'm pretty bad.
Yeah. You going peanut butter or caramel sauce?
Depends, Dave. How naughty do I want to be?
I'm saying you want to get decadent.
Oh, then give me both.
This is the hard-hitting Cavs journalism that I was going for when I had you on. We haven't talked in a while, and now I just want to just kind of have fun the whole time. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, okay, Isaiah Thomas. I will say, and I've told this to a few people privately, but never really publicly said it. I think I said it on Twitter once or twice, but my follower count is so low that it doesn't really count as public. That
at Demoko,
I liked the Isaiah Thomas move shortly after the trade and while he was injured. And I kind of had forgotten the fact that I really hated him as a Celtic because of the tragedy that happened to him and because of his injury and all of that. And so when he came to the Cavs, I was like, oh, this is an inspiring story. He's fighting his way back, all that. And then he started playing. And I was like, well, he's real short. And then he's also doesn't seem to have his legs back under him. And again, I was fine with that. Let's let him rehab, stuff like that. But then to be the guy that goes and talks eternal shit about everybody, that's where, sorry, dude, you're not the team leader. You're, a guy who's trying to fight his way back.
If you are 5'6", you make an all-star team, like Michael Adams was a one and done all-star in 1993. Isaiah Thomas made the all-star team the last 2 years. Just to even stick in the league at that height, let alone make an all-star team, you have a huge ass chip on your shoulder. But let's be honest, what did those Celtics teams do? They got swept, and then they got blown out. Last year, I know he was hurt for it, but they were down to 50 points to the Cavs at halftime. That Celtics team was overhyped and overrated. They weren't that good. So for him to come into a team that has a championship pedigree, regardless of all the dysfunction, and immediately be like, I'm the guy. One, he's taking away shots from LeBron, taking the ball out of his hand. Two, Kevin Love was having this statistically insane season, production-wise, efficiency-wise, and he starts taking shots away from him. Dude, one, you're 5'6". Two, you have a busted hip. Three, you've been a washout on every city that you've been in. And now it's like all the reasons why he's been out of every team. And DeMarcus Cousins and the rest of the Kings hated him. The Suns hated him. And then last year there was some story that his Celtics teammates hated him. Well, it's pretty clear now, following the Cavs, that he rubs people the wrong way, and he's not good enough to have this big of a chip on his shoulder and be this big of a prima donna.
Yeah. Yeah, and that someone was saying that, we should have found out about his hip during the physical. And I thought, well, did they do the height measurement in the physical? Because that could have ended it really quickly.
Hey, Dave, if you get a guy who's 5'6", coming off a major injury, and he can shoot 23% from the field, you got to make that move.
You do have to make that move. It was just so... I also like the bizarre spacing and just standing 5 feet beyond the three-point arc, waving his arms like Dion Waiters.
Oh, yeah. And Dion Waiters probably shot a better percentage from three than Isaiah Thomas is this season. Like, Dion Waiters was not a good 3-point shooter. And Isaiah Thomas, hey, let's get that little guy up top shooting 23% from 3. Let's make sure to feed him the rock. And he's taking shots away. Every time he shot, he was taking a shot away from a better player. It was like earlier in the season, every time Derrick Rose shot the ball, it was like, okay, you have LeBron and Love. You should only be shooting it when you have a good shot, not forcing it with better players on the floor. And Isaiah Thomas was like that, except with a really undeserved attitude. Like, hey, I was all NBA second team, and it wasn't a fluke.
Right. And I'll say that one of the things that had me so kind of disengaged with the Cavs during this whole downturn was I didn't have a problem with the Cavs struggling to play. But when you combine it with the personalities there of Derrick Rose, Isaiah Thomas, Crowder, like it was just such a bad vibe. You'd turn on the game, you'd see the 3 things you expected to see, and I'd turn it off and go do something else. And we'll get to it in a little bit where you tell me about these new people. Even if we got just regular Joes in return, I think a lot of this with Isaiah Thomas and Rose was just kind of addition by subtraction. And you just happen to get some good people back, I assume, because people are happy about it.
Well, when people on Twitter, like people I know, and even I was watching ESPN, even though I tried not to because I wanted to soak in as much Cavs talk as I could, like people were questioning whether or not this makes them a better team. At this point, you could have cut those 3 guys and just replaced them with G Leaguers, and the Cavs would be a better team. It's not even a question in my mind.
I agree with that 100%. I was one of those people who was really hoping the Cavs would throw a draft pick at Larry Nance Jr. When he
got
out.
Picked higher than anybody expected.
Yeah.
I know. I thought he'd be there in the second round when the Cavs were back around at like 35.
Now, I went to the Cavs-Lakers game at the Q this year, and I saw Larry Nance, and he was wearing a Lakers hat. And I'm pretty happy that he's going to be able to throw that away. Like, I'm really happy about that.
Larry Nance, my brother, it's a long story, but he played pickup games a couple times with the Nance family. And Larry Nance used to complain, this was back when the Cavs were really bad, like the Deion Kyrie team.
Yeah.
That whenever they would be doing constant events with like the legends to try to get people to come out, and he would complain about how he had to, I don't know if he has got like some nominal job for them where they're like a retainer or whatever,
right?
Like I have to go to the Cavs game tonight for, like he was complaining about it. But now Larry Nance will be at every Cavs game and happy to be there.
Yeah, my Larry Nance run-in stories were he golfed a lot at Brandywine Golf Course down in Peninsula. And my brothers worked there so we could golf for free, and he once almost hit me with a golf ball. And it's one of those situations where the golf course etiquette is someone hits right up into you, you turn around and you say, "What the fuck?" or, something like that. And then I turn around and see that it's Larry Nance. And he's like, "Sorry, I never thought I could hit it that far." And I'm like, "Oh, you're Larry Nance, man. I don't care." You got Craig Ego with you back there? And the answer was no, he did not.
I love that anybody who grew up anywhere near Fairlawn has like a Larry Nance story.
Yeah. And it's great. And so I'm glad Larry Nance Jr. is on his way. They're saying that he's going to wear number 27. Number 7 is retired here, and he is not going to bring his dad's number out of retirement. So he's going to wear 27.
That's good.
That's a fun fact for you today. Okay, let's.
That's the scoop right there.
Yeah, that I read on Twitter before we podcasted.
Dave, I don't mean to interrupt because I think you're going to go to the new guys. I just want to say to anybody that's listening, if they know me or not, I told you so. I said it for the last 2 years, how much I hated Isaiah Thomas and how overrated he was, and it makes me very happy to be vindicated.
That is pretty good. I agree with that. And I also hated him. I was right on board. But what I didn't understand was how bad it would be to have him on your team.
If Iman Shumpert can take you out of a playoff series when you're perfectly healthy,
yes,
that's not good to begin with. He was just a product of being the only person on that team who could score.
Well, and I read an in-depth analysis on Twitter that I do not have time to credit because I don't know who tweeted it. But it was very much that he was a product of the Celtics system, that he had ferocious defenders behind him, and he also, that same thing on the offense, just gave him the spacing to do the things that he was good at. Now, at the time, he was explosive off the ball, and with his hip, he is not really that explosive anymore. Now,
So he's just a little guy who can't shoot and can't drive.
right. Like he used to be like the professor. And now he's just one of the guys in the stands.
I was going to say, he moves like Escalade now.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Oh.
I wish that I mean, I'm going to continue on to, okay, Jordan Clarkson, the other member of the Lakers who is headed this way. What do you know about Jordan Clarkson?
Jordan Clarkson is the kind of guy who, if the Cavs didn't have LeBron and hadn't won a championship 2 years ago, I'd be terrified to have on the team, because he's a high volume, remorseless scorer type guy who, when he's hot, he could be hot, but when he's not, he doesn't really contribute anything. But on this team, he should be like the eighth guy, so I actually think this might be a good role for him.
All right, I like that. Is he expensive? I heard he was expensive.
He's overpaid because it was when the Lakers had nobody there and they had to like reach the salary floor. Same reason why they spent all that money on Mozgov and Luol Deng, because they had to, basically.
Mozgov is still a great Instagram follower, because they'll just be him in front of some weird fancy car in a place you don't know, saying something you don't understand.
He should make a rap song to the Tetris music.
Yes, that is right up his alley.
Mother Russia.
Something about Putin in there. I don't know. I'm not even trying. All right, let's move on. We got George Hill. Any chance we can call him King of the Hill? He is a name that I had heard. He is a name I had heard in the previous weeks preceding this event, that the Cavs were interested in him. And then what about him made the Cavs interested?
I get why the Cavs are interested, but if like people look up his numbers or how he's playing this year, they're going to be really disappointed. But last year, before he got hurt for Utah, this is really weird to say, but he was like one of the 15 best players in the league in terms of how he was producing.
I thought you were going to say he was one of the 15 best players on the Jazz.
Oh, he was that too.
By default.
But that was like a huge outlier compared to how he regularly plays. But he's like the prototypical LeBron James point guard. Like, remember why it seemed like they were playing so much better with Jose Calderon? Because he would just bring the ball past half court, give it to LeBron, and then spot up for threes.
Yep.
This guy is a better shooter. Well, Jose is a pretty good shooter, but there's a lot of other issues there.
I've got one problem with Jose, and that's when they wear the all maroon uniforms, he wears white shoes.
Oh.
Instead of black shoes or maroon shoes.
He has to kind of. He's like an NBA dad at this point. He's just lucky he doesn't have New Balance.
That's fair enough. They're at least Nike white shoes.
He's ready to go work in a hospital after that.
Just to pick up a couple of shifts.
Yeah, he's PRN at the clinic, the Cleveland Clinic.
No, I see, and I would have said this about some of the other guys, but the people leaving and the people that are now here, I'll take a medium talent and a good attitude. You know what I mean?
Jose Calderon is slow, way past his prime, but the Cavs defense looked better when he was on the floor, which is another reason why I hate Isaiah Thomas. The Cavs defense looked better when he was on the floor because he busted his ass and got in the right spots.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody on the team complimented him in a post game, and Isaiah Thomas is like, everybody says I'm bad at defense, but look at Jose. He's bad at defense, but he's still playing good because he's playing in the team system, and I'm more athletic than him, so I don't see why I can't do what he's doing, but better.
Yep, that's right. You know,
that was like his third game back. You know what? Just label this podcast "Fuck Isaiah Thomas" because that's really how I feel about it.
It is true. His whole "when we face adversity, we go our separate ways." Well, we faced some adversity, and you're now going a separate way than everybody else. So that's good.
He is basically Joe Varden from the Cleveland.com tweeted out the Journey song Separate Ways. And at this point, it was like, look, okay, Steve Perry, you can leave and we'll get the Korean sound alike to replace you with this. You're causing too much strife.
So, lastly, but not least, Rodney Hood.
Rodney Hood is like an exciting thing because he's a really good shooter and he's young and athletic enough that it sounds weird because this Cavs team is definitely not known for it. But if somebody can get through to him to make him play better defense or he takes more advantage of this opportunity, he could end up being a steal for him, I think.
Well, I like getting younger, and I like, frankly, more minutes for Jetty out of all this.
Yeah.
Because I think he's playing quite well, and his just attitude seems to be a lot more contagious than the down in the dumps attitude of Isaiah Thomas the Lesser and Derrick Rose and Crowder, and they all seem to be kind of down in the dumps.
Yeah, and his hustle rubs off. Like, you got a guy busting his ass like that. It makes you compete harder so you don't look embarrassed out there.
Yeah. Now, Dwayne Wade going back to Miami for pretty much nothing, right? This was a gift to Dwayne Wade.
It seems like it.
Now, they said that LeBron signed off on it, is what the reporting was. Why is LeBron, why did he come here if he wasn't going to stick around? In your opinion, your expert opinion.
That's a really weird question. I think maybe he thought the rest of the team shooting would be better, like JR would return to form and Isaiah and Crowder would be able to shoot. Because if the Cavs have good shooting like they did the last couple of years, Dwayne Wade is a great fit. I mean, he was doing really good as backup point guard and the way he cuts off the ball and stuff. But they play so many lineups now with like Jeff Green and Tristan Thompson, who aren't shooters to begin with. And then they have guys who are shooting poorly. A guy like Wade gets more exposed because he's older and doesn't have those cracks to work through. And they could just overload like Corver at the 3-point line. So I guess I could see it. He just doesn't really fit now with these moves that they made. And instead of him being a proud vet sitting at the end of the bench, waiting for that Sean Marion moment when somebody on the Cavs gets hurt so he can be dusted off and put in the playoffs.
Well, we've secured someone for that, Kendrick Perkins.
Oh, yeah. If he sees the floor in a playoff game, the Cavs are in serious trouble.
No, it just means they're up 50 on the Celtics again.
Oh, Dave, you're quite the optimist. I didn't even think about that.
Anyway, yeah, so gift to Dwayne Wade, go back to Miami where it's warm. You can retire as a Heat.
Yeah, he's got to be actually retiring, right?
One would think. His wife was happy about it on Twitter. I know that much.
This reminds me of when Jim Thome and Kenny Lofton came back to the Indians for like 3 months, except those teams were kind of in playoff runs. And, well, the Heat are too, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think, like I said, his wife is the most happy about it because it is February. Miami's probably a much better place to be.
Yeah, I saw she used a lot of palm tree and sun emojis.
Hey, it's not for everybody, the Midwest lifestyle, but hey.
You got to be tough.
You do have to be tough. And I've heard that in Miami, things are given to you, even if you don't earn them, but that's not true here.
I've heard that too. You show up in Miami and they give you whatever you want.
So let's talk about the I would say the one disappointing part of this, and that is we have to say goodbye to Channing Frye.
I know. I'm kind of upset. I'm not kind of upset. I'm really upset. He's like worked his way up to being like my 5th favorite Cav of all time.
Yeah, he's been playing well too. It wasn't just his personality. He's been playing well. This is actually a sad referendum on the Cavs, but he's been their best shot blocker and interior defensive presence. And he could shoot, obviously. I really wish they didn't have to get rid of him because I can still see him being really useful, especially with Love being out for at least another month. Yeah, and his shooting from the outside has been excellent, and he has lately been able to play a little bit inside, which it's a shame to lose that.
last night he didn't shoot good, but just being on the floor made Kyle Korver so much more open.
Yeah.
And I know there's tons of guys on Twitter who are all about analytics and will go through the stuff on the Cavs games, and they're all worth following. Much like you, I can't remember any off the top of my head, but there's just look them. There's go to my Twitter feed at Chris_Clem. I retweeted a bunch of guys lately, but they just play so much better with that spacing on the floor, and it was. Why did Ty Lue just go away from that for so long? And I guess that goes back to why getting rid of Isaiah and Derrick Rose is going to help is they're not shooting and they're not doing anything else except clogging the lane and making it harder for the Cavs to score. So you lose, well, at this point with Wade, you lose 3 guys who can't shoot. I mean, I know Isaiah has a track record, but not this year. And you lose one guy who can shoot, and hopefully it's a wash. But his personality, like I feel bad for Kevin Love. If they were yelling at him before, what's going to happen now without Channing there?
Yeah, well, hopefully all the people that were yelling at Kevin Love are currently on airplanes right now. You know?
Oh, good point. Yeah, they're on their way to back up Lonzo Ball. Isn't that fitting for Isaiah Thomas?
I love it.
He starts this year with his video series, The Book of Isaiah, hyping up how he's going to come back. He has 2 good games for the Cavs, then completely falls back off the cliff, is horrible, and now is going to end the season backing up, in my opinion, a very overhyped and overrated player in Lonzo Ball, who's got a circus surrounding him just because of who his dad is. Right.
Yeah, and nothing like some Los Angeles obscurity for everybody. And I've already heard that his agent is already saying he doesn't want to come off the bench. He'd rather be released than come off the bench. And I think that's awesome that attitude can be plugged into the Lakers instead of the Cavs.
Yeah, isn't that perfect? I can't wait for he tells them how winning is done.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he knows. He's going to show them the videos the first day.
I can't wait for the clips of IT mouthing bad words at the back of Lonzo's head to be floating around Twitter.
Oh, I'm just ready for the tribute next year when the Lakers come to the Q, the Isaiah Thomas tribute.
Yeah, can we? It's just all pictures of him in his suit cheering at the end of the bench,
being really
Those
excited.
are the highlights.
Yeah.
I know everybody was talking about it on Twitter, but did you notice last night, if you saw how LeBron completely ignored him in the post-game celebration?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. The sequence of images someone put on Twitter was, choose your next move very wisely, and it shows Isaiah Thomas on the left and Jetty on the right, and then the second pick is him chest bumping with Jetty, and it was the best.
It reminded me, the way he was holding on to LeBron's leg to try to get him to notice him, reminded me of last year when LeBron dunked straight over him with him wrapping his arms around his waist.
It's very similar. And bye. I'm good with it. Love it.
Who's Brooke Lopez? Is he going to be called out by Isaiah Thomas?
It depends. They're talking that he's going to get released and signed by the Cavs.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Brooke Lopez's game, but I would much rather have Robin Lopez on this team.
Yeah, that might be
with
true.
Their needs.
Yeah, we're going to need to find one of those call a guy who's been sitting around bigs and see how that goes.
Yeah. I guess Brooke Lopez is still playing all right. He's just a terrible rebounder and defender. But hey, I guess that fits on the Cavs.
What else do you need out of a big, though? You don't really need rebounding and defense out of a big. You're really after their finesse game.
Man, if you just look at the Lakers roster right now, you might be like, holy, what? They got Gary Payton and Isaiah Thomas? Oh, it's Gary Payton 2 and Isaiah Thomas the lesser. Never mind.
They just got to get Tim Hardaway over there.
They should get Glenn Robinson III. They should just build their roster around second-generation NBA players. They already have Luke Walton as a coach. It's perfect setup for it.
But they just traded away Larry Nance Jr., so.
Oh, yeah. Damn, actually, that just ruined everything. Good going, Cavs.
Sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up.
The Lakers could potentially have a backcourt of Lonzo Ball, a guy who's going to jail during the week for his DUI conviction, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and a man who is 5'6" with hip injuries who refuses to come off the bench, and Isaiah Thomas the Lesser. Nothing says winning situation like that. They're going to build some good habits for the summer when they sign Paul George and LeBron.
Well, and that's my favorite part is I had heard that the Lakers kind of said that they were dropping out of the LeBron derby there at the end of the year for next year. And then, like, if this doesn't effing seal it, well, I guess Isaiah Thomas is at the end of his contract, and there's probably no way they're going to re-sign him. But that would be funny. Like, oh, yeah, here's what we got set up for you to come into this winning situation here in L.A.
Well, and one of those, some of the books and things that people wrote about the Cavs is that the most frustrating thing for him coming to the Cavs was dealing with all the guys who hadn't been in a winning situation before and their habits and attitudes and stuff. And if he thought that was bad with the Cavs, who had like legitimate all-stars going into that season, do you really that's what makes me think, do you really think he's going to end up going to LA and do it all over again 5 years older?
I highly doubt that, yeah. Yeah.
Like, he's going to be the guy that teaches Kyle Kuzma and Brendan Ingram, like, good practice habits.
And he's going to be the guy who wants to try to lose in the conference finals instead of the finals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a good question. I just I don't see it being the lock. But then again, if I just went by everything Bill Simmons said, that the Boston Red Sox would have been the 2017 World Series champions.
And Isaiah Thomas would be an excellent fit in Cleveland. They're getting a real winner there.
That's true.
That's going to take them over the top.
And Kyrie would have been completely overrated and overhyped until somehow he put on that green uniform.
Looks good now. Looks good in Celtic green, baby.
He's winning now, even though his numbers are the exact same as they were in Cleveland. But
do you want to get into Kyrie? Like,
why not?
This kind of, to me, erases a little bit of the Kyrie bad taste. Because when the team's in chaos, and a lot of the chaos is caused by the people that you traded for Kyrie, it was tough to not, like, everyone's saying, well, it's Dan Gilbert, well, it's LeBron, it's all this. I'm like, to me, no, it's Kyrie Irving for demanding this giant, ridiculous shakeup.
Yeah.
And I don't know what caused that, but to me, every time I hear Kyrie Irving talk, he doesn't sound like a rational human being. So, like, people saying, oh, well, if they would have done this, Kyrie would have stayed. Or, like, they were saying that LeBron wanted Kyrie, they wanted him to force Kyrie to show up. Like, the dude's not rational. The dude, like, there is no cause and effect with things with Kyrie, in my opinion.
There were reports during whenever the thing happened over the summer that he didn't talk to his teammates for the last 4 weeks of the playoffs. Are we forgetting that stuff?
Yeah.
The fact that he's going out of his way, besides like the flat earth stuff and all that, he's constantly shown I don't want to demean him, but I know a lot of people like this in real life who aren't that bright, but they try to read a lot because they're trying to fill in the gaps, and they think, oh, well, I'm going to quote this. That means I'm educated and intelligent,
right,
or I know what I'm talking about. And he just reminds me of every guy you meet, like your freshman year of college, or you have in like some of your high school class or whatever, who read one book and suddenly feels like he's got all the secrets to the universe figured out.
Well, yeah, he listens to a couple episodes of Coast to Coast AM and tells everybody else to wake up sheeple.
Exactly. He's like the basketball Alex Jones.
Yeah. I do want to give a shout out to my friend Dan Holmes, who made a Spotify playlist you can subscribe to, which is all the bumper music from Coast to Coast AM.
Oh, nice.
And it's an amazing playlist with some great stuff on it.
Does it have
I don't know. It does have I know it has that one.
Oh, yeah, that one scares you. When I'm listening to that late at night, it gets to that.
Oh, well, good
luck falling asleep after that.
Well, my favorite, I always listen to it on the way home from the bar, right? Like, it's 2 a.m, all that, and you're like, okay, I got 15 minutes to get from the bar back home, and of course I'm sober, because I don't drive drunk. And this was 15 years ago anyway. But like, okay, I'm going to listen to Coast to Coast.
The statute of limitations is passed, Dave.
So I'm going to listen to Coast AM, and like you spend the first 4 minutes listening to like the end of an interview with a guy who's talking about FEMA camps, or like you don't even really know. Like you don't know the subject, but he's talking timeline at this point. So he's like, well, I really see this happening in the next 2 to 3 years, and they're really ramping up. And you're like, oh, what is it? What is it? And then they go to break, and then there's 9 minutes of commercials, and then there's and then there's 9 more minutes of commercials.
Oh, then it's like, get your C Crane radio.
I forgot about the C Crane radio. Then there's all of the ads, because it's 2:30 in the morning, are
call now, Patriot Food Source. For $4.99 you can get a free month's free. All it is shipping. Call now.
Buy gold. This is G. Gordon Liddy. But it's also all of the like required promos that they have to do, like the public service announcements. Like so by the time I get home, I'm not only worried about being put into a FEMA camp, I'm worried that I'm going to have a stroke because I don't recognize the signs of stroke, and that there are so many people who don't have enough to eat and have hunger issues. And like I hear all the PSAs and like I'm depressed and I'm going to get put into camps. And then just as you get home, like the song starts, but then they play the whole song for some reason.
Oh yeah.
I was a fan.
I listen to if I listen to Coast to Coast, I'll still go and listen to the WTAM feed just so I can hear their horrible promos for the spew with Trevisano and Lanigan.
Oh yeah.
Nothing on those ads makes me want to tune in. It's like, Zach Reed got a DUI. What are you talking about? Don't talk about my DUI. The spew with Lanigan and Trevisano.
I'm going to say something controversial.
They're just trying too hard. And my other favorite thing is when George Norrie, the current host of Coast to Coast AM, will start doing what sounds like is Back to the Show before you realize it's a live read for some ad. He's really good at making it sound like, oh, we're back on Coast to Coast AM. Did you know that paranormaldate.com is now accepting members?
The other thing that I would remember is if it were like you'd be worried about this thing, and like I was saying, they're always talking timeline of this is going to happen in the next 3 years, and then they're like, you're listening to a classic episode that originally aired on September 4th, 2003, and you're like, oh, well, this is 10 years old. Never mind. I guess we're not going to be hit by the asteroid because it's been 10 years now.
I'm still waiting for the nuke to hit downtown Chicago in December 2014.
Well, it's aimed, buddy. You just try to get complacent over there.
I'm never safe. There's there's all these people doing predictions. You had Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus and some lady in South America. And every time I listen to the show, there's like a new report. So gotta always stay on high alert living in this country of ours.
It is. It's a necessary thing.
You never know which one of your neighbors is a reptoid.
I'm pretty sure I know. So what else? I mean, are you going to watch any Winter Olympics? Do you have a favorite Winter Olympic sport?
I'll be honest. I saw Tanya last week, and that's probably as close to watching the Winter Olympics as I'm going to get.
All right.
I'm just not a big Winter Olympics fan. My mom used to make us watch it when I was a kid. And I'm just not that into it. Summer Olympics, I will watch some of it, but since I've moved out of my parents' house
and no longer forced,
yeah, I'm not like checking to see who's going for the curling or hockey or the luge is pretty cool.
See, I don't like the judged sports. Like
I never did.
Like my wife loves this figure skating. Fine, you can watch it. But like I don't like anything where someone's judging it or even dumber. Sorry, extreme sports people, but like the snowboarding and all that, I just don't find it interesting. it's amazing what they're doing, but you see it so often that you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess he can do that. I guess she can do that. And oh, they gave him a 7. Uh-oh. But like anything, I like anything. I like the skiing, the luge, the bobsled where it's timed. The biathlon with the skiing and the shooting. That's a great combination. But yeah, I don't know how much I'm actually going to watch, especially because the time difference is like 14 hours. So
Yeah.
you're watching what NBC thinks you want to watch, and
That's figure skating.
that's a lot of figure skating. Yeah.
I mean, I'll go out of my way to watch the basketball in the Summer Olympics, and I'll usually catch other stuff. But there's just nothing. There's nothing where I'm like, wow. Unless there's going to be a Russian judge controversy with like Canadian figure skating doubles, I'm probably not going to tune in.
I like the hockey. By the end of it, when they're into like the tournament part.
Yeah, I mean the playoff hockey. It's the same in the Olympics. It's usually entertaining.
Yeah, but we'll see. I have trouble with the figure skating. It's just tough.
Look, Dave, if I'm going to be honest, there's 6 seasons of Frasier I haven't watched yet, and those are probably going to take priority.
I understand. All right. Well, got anything else you want to cover? Talk about anything like that, or?
You're the host here.
Yeah, I know, and I'm opening it up for you as a way to close it out.
Oh, okay. Now I wish I would have been better prepared. Jeez, you put me on the spot like this.
Sorry about that. How about this? Twitter. Since I followed Larry Nance on Twitter now, Twitter is suggesting I follow the rest of the Lakers because it really doesn't get sports.
It doesn't. It's not updated yet. That algorithm is behind. I thought of something that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
You guys have your 10th anniversary waiting for next year.
Yeah, I should probably have mentioned that. Yes, it is the 10-year anniversary of Waiting for Next Year.com. All sorts of stuff going on this week.
You tweeted out something this morning that got washed away in the deluge of Cad's trade deadline tweets.
Yes.
But the Browns Friday Fumble NFL Draft Roundtable, I feel like everybody should go and listen to that.
I agree. If you're a fan of this podcast, I will retweet my tweet. And if you're now following me because Chris told you to on Twitter, you can link to it.
Yeah, I got serious pull. I will say I don't have that many followers either, but I thought you were going to be like 800 or something. But you're in the 400s.
I'm at 404.
That's a shame.
And a lot of those are bands.
That's terrible.
And a lot of them, I think, are Russian bots.
My wife follows you. I don't know how else to help you besides that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of these are just fake. Like, I didn't even buy them. But, yeah, Friday Fumble, this is from 2 years ago. We did a round table. It was one of the most entertaining things I think I've ever been a part of. Very talented people. You were involved. Will Gibson was involved. A good friend, Jack Brackney, was involved to play a very familiar sounding Cleveland character. But
whoa. I wasn't there. Our mutual friend, Pal Allen, was.
Oh, excuse me. Yes. Sorry. I thought you drove him there. But you waited outside in the car. I forgot about that.
Yeah. He actually let me go to McDonald's and he bought me one of those 99-cent McCafes, and I just sat in the car with that.
But yeah, I listened to it all the way through today, and it made me laugh so many times, and I don't remember if it's just because I was remembering doing it, but I think it was genuinely funny. So if you like Brown stuff, especially with the history that's happened since then, it kind of makes it even funnier to me anyway. But yeah, check that out. I will retweet it. At Democo.
And I thought of 2 things I have to say then before we go.
Okay.
One, I brought back my podcast, and I was going to talk about it when you were saying the thing about hating this team. I didn't do it from November until this week, and part of it was because I got busy with other stuff. But a lot of it, too, was that I can't find ways to talk positively about Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the basketball gods knew he was coming back, so I had to stop. And now that I started again, they had to get rid of them just to please me. And thank you, Bill Walton. And also, I guess I will be at the Roxino, March 16th and 17th. I guess I should plug that.
March 16th and 17th. I will mark one of those days on the calendar because the Roxino is ridiculously close to my house.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You're living up there in the high society land now.
Something like that.
And I used to work when it was Northfield Park for like 4 months. I was the guy who started the timer when the horses raced and hit it when they finished.
Wow.
And yeah, it was that exciting of a job. It was awesome because I sat in a room and I watched Indians games and wrestling on Mondays, and because it was over the summer, and every half hour I had to like pay attention for 2 minutes, and then I was just back to sitting there and watching TV. It paid horribly though.
Now I was in Las Vegas last year, and we decided to go to the Palms. It was during the Cavs playoff game. We decided to go to the Palms because they had a good sports bar and sports book. So we went in there and we're watching the Cavs, and we're joking around because they have live horse racing on the screen, and we're like, oh ho, it's Northfield Park, and then we look over. And it is Northfield Park. Like, that's how desperate they were for horse racing, that they're going to show Northfield Park on simulcast via satellite. We could have bet on Northfield Park races out in Las Vegas.
Dude, that was a big selling point. Is they're one of like the 30 racetracks across the country that's beamed it out to places.
Yeah. And they were still using that weird, like, Mercury, the white Mercury with the gate in front of in the back.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how they keep that thing going because it looks like it's been around. Like, they keep it nice looking, but I just don't know how that engine's still going.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, but I do know that the horse people were in a completely separate building from the production staff, so I never had any encounters with them.
I think that's probably better, really.
And there was a guy who was really good, a jockey, and his name was Dan. So every time he won, they played Elton John's Daniel, and that got really old. And I say that as somebody who actually likes Elton John. Because when I wasn't timing the gate, I was on the field filming the winner's circle.
Nice.
Like with an over-the-shoulder camera. And that got old real fast. Like the 8th time in a row that night you hear Daniel, you just want it to stop.
It's like, dude, let somebody else win for a change. Come on.
Yeah, we get it. We get it. Your horse is good. You're good. All right, just throw a race. It's a crappy Northern Ohio racetrack.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be mad. The mob's not going to kill you.
I just want to hear Crazy Train once.
That actually might have been somebody's song.
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, all right, Chris, thank you for coming on and clarifying everything I needed to know about the new Cavaliers. I really appreciate it.
I think underrated because his numbers are bad this year, but I really think George Hill is going to fit in really great with the Cavs, and I also think Rodney Hood could be a steal. It's up in the air. And also, the best part about Larry Nance is that he busts his ass nonstop. So if Tristan Thompson isn't, Larry Nance is going to take his lunch. So it might actually force both of them to step their games up.
Nice. I love it. All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. If you want to get in touch with either of us on Twitter and yell at us about whatever, my Twitter handle is @Democo. And Chris, your Twitter handle is
@Chris, CHRIS _CLEM. Chris _Clem. Chris Clem, the guy that took my Twitter, has never tweeted once, and it makes me very upset about it.
That is very, very sad. So everybody follow us or something. You know, we're all languishing in the low digits.
We can't all be Democos.
All right. Thank you for listening. This has been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.